Hello my friends, I'm Buck Weezer and you've tuned to Buck's Small Engine DIY on YouTube. Right here with me is a Husqvarna mower featuring a Briggs & Stratton engine. I just installed a brand new safety brake cable. You know, the cable that runs from the bail at the handle down to the engine. I just installed a brand new one because the other one was kind of mangled. And guess what? Now this otherwise great running engine will not start. Let me demonstrate. Squeeze the bail, cable runs down to the engine, pull it, nothing. You know why it won't start? Because that new cable is not pulling hard enough against the spring tension of the engine shutdown mechanism. So the ignition coil, the magneto, is remaining grounded. This will not spark, fire, start, or run as a result. But I've got my own patented DIY workaround, and I'm going to show it to you, that will solve this issue permanently and effectively. Are you interested? Then stay tuned. Alright, so we're up here on the table and I'm going to zoom in here where that safety cable connects to the engine right here. And when I squeeze the bail at the handle, you can see it pulling and moving this lever. But it's not pulling enough, it's not moving this lever enough. And that's why the engine is not starting. To actually give you a good view of what we're going to do and to effect this repair, I'm going to take off the recoil assembly, which is 1, 2, 3 nuts. This orange engine cover will lift off with it. After that, I'm going to have to remove the gas tank. That's just 3 bolts to move that out of the way. And then we'll have full access to the engine shutdown mechanism. So let's do that first and we'll have full access to what we're going to do here. All right. 1, 2, 3, lifts off. Just move that out of the way. Engine cover lifts off. Move that out of the way. Don't lose your hardware. Alright, so this gas tank comes next, and it's got these 1, 2 posts, and then down lower here is another bolt. So let's take care of that. I'm using a 12mm deep socket. A 1. And a 2. And the one down here under the tank looks like a 10mm. And that's this bolt, and there's also this spacer, so don't lose that. Now the tank's totally loose, although it's still connected by the hose. To get this completely out of the way, I'll have to disconnect the hose down here. I could just leave it like this and it's out of the way, but I think I'm going to disconnect it so that we can all see more clearly everything that we're doing. Alright, so we have full access to the engine shutdown mechanism, which is right here. And I'm going to zoom in on that for you and talk to you about the 2 things that happen when you squeeze the bail at the handle for the safety brake cable. So if you see movement here when I squeeze it, 2 things are happening. First, there's a brake pad right here that when I squeeze it separates itself from the flywheel. And then when you shut down the engine, that brake goes back against the flywheel to slow it from spinning. But the other thing that happens, which is harder to see, is that we have a tab here that moves, and it's when we squeeze the bail, this tab is supposed to move away from this this other triangular shaped tab, which is right here. Hard to see. Let me take you in just a little bit closer. So you see this thing moving away, and when this tab separates from this triangular tab, the engine is allowed to spark. Otherwise it's grounded, because their ground wire is connected to this triangular flexible tab, and the wire runs down here under and over to the ignition coil. And that is the means by which the engine is disabled from running or shut down, because we ground out the ignition coil. The ignition coil sits over here, and here's the ground wire on the top of it. Here's another view from down lower, where maybe you can see this triangular flexible metal piece needs to separate from this moving tab below it, but it does not move far enough. See that? Hopefully that helps you. Alright, so what's the solution? I'm about to show you. So right now I have the handle squeezed in the run position, and if this tab would just move 1/8 of an inch more, it would separate it from this grounding tab and the engine would run. So what if we just take this assembly off? This is my workaround, my super secret technique. If I just take this mechanism off and just trim down the edge of this tab so that these two tabs separate. We'd still have plenty of metal on there for them to engage and ground out when we release the handle. So it's just a matter of taking a little bit of metal off the edge of that tab. So let's do that together. We have to remove 2 bolts, and this whole thing will come off. First I'm going to unclip the wire. Pressing down on this tab, it just pulls out. Right, so he's out of the way. Now these look like 8mm bolts. We're going to take those off, and we'll have access to the shutdown unit. Let's take our 2 8mm bolts out. Did I mention that this is the second Husqvarna with a Briggs and Stratton that I've had in a week with this exact same problem? The brake cable simply not pulling hard enough. So this is the second time in a week that I'm doing this little technique. And it worked beautifully on the other one, so I feel like it's going to work on this one as well. Alright, so here, now we're here. Let's see if we can get this cable off. Oh, he's stubborn. Alright, there he goes. And we can squeeze these 2 tabs. And remove it from the bracket. Alright, so he's out of the way. Our 2 screws fell out. They're identical. Alright, so here we are, and the tab that we have to cut is kind of stuck under here, so I need to remove this spring so that we can, because the spring tension's holding that in, so we got to take this spring off, and I think I can get that with a screwdriver. Pry it off a little bit, and he gets moved out of the way. Alright, so now this thing will move freely. So this is the tab that I want to get cut off. Hope you can see it. And you can see this little groove or line in the top of it that is where the triangular grounding tab touches it. So we got plenty of space where they touch. I just need to take off a little bit of metal right here. Now this one's kind of tough to get to. Just the way this one's set up, but I think we'll be okay. Alright, put the piece up in the bench vise, and I marked here with a pencil where I want to try and cut that tab. You see that right there? And I think the easiest thing for me to do in this case is to cut it with a hacksaw. I think I can get a hacksaw right in there and just cut right that tab right there. There's been other times where the setup's a little different, where I can cut that tab off with like my angle grinder with a cut-off wheel, but that's kind of tough here, so I think I'm just going to get it with the hacksaw right in there. And since the camera's in my way, I'm going to turn it off and move it, and then I'll bring it back after I cut that tab off. Alright, that tab sawed off very easily. Now I'm just taking a file to kind of round off that top corner where it's going to encounter the grounding tab. Just kind of round that edge. Okay, just like that. And we still have plenty of meat on here for it to engage the grounding tab. I think we're going to be fine. And now we just have to put it all back together and test it out. Okay, we're ready to get this guy back on. I can connect this cable again, which might be easier to do now. Alright, the biggest fight was getting the spring back on, but I managed after a couple of tries. Not too bad, really. Alright, so let's start with this guy here. And then this one. I'm okay. It's fighting against me a little bit because it's under that spring tension, but I think we got it. And of course, the kill wire is an important component, so he has to go back on there like that. Okay, so it's back on. Let's squeeze the bail and see how it looks. All right, I'm going to squeeze the bail. I want you to pay attention. See, this is our triangular shaped grounding tab. Has to separate from this swinging arm right there. See if when I squeeze it, if you can see the separation. All right, squeezing. What do you think? Yep, they've separated. So now the ignition coil is not grounded because we have about a 1/16 of an inch separation between the triangular grounding tab and this pivoting arm. All right, I release the bail, and now they're touching again. The ignition coil is grounded, it will not start. So I think we've done it. We simply shorten that one tab. So now it's they're separated. Now they're touching. Grounded, won't start. Squeeze the bail, they separate. Ignition coil is no longer grounded. It should start. So let's put it all back together, and we'll put it on the ground again and see if it worked. Since I feel pretty confident it's going to start this time, I thought maybe we should do our test outside. New cable. Squeeze the bail. Release the cable and it stops. Now it's working like it should. Awesome. Well, that's it. It worked. It's Buck's patented, my patented workaround DIY. So what do you think? I'd like to know your thoughts. Too much work? Is that technique too much work? Is it beyond the scope of the average DIYer? I don't know. It's pretty simple and it's basic. And hopefully, working through that with me, you were able to learn something about these complex machines we call lawnmowers. It's actually very, very simple, isn't it? And yeah, it's a great engine, great fix, great machine. I'll get it back to the guy who owns it, and he'll be happy to put it back into service. I want to thank you for watching. I do appreciate that. Your comments and questions in the discussion below are always valuable to me. I appreciate that so much. Like, subscribe, do those things that help me and my channel move forward. I appreciate it. Above all, remember that, as I always like to say, only you can put the do into do-it-yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.